Deze is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? Happy week. It's been a busy week on my end and a busy week for everybody else. And we have lots to talk about, and maybe even some things we may even forget to talk about because there was so much going on over the weekend that we didn't even realize. There was events over in Europe. There was, events in Canada getting ready for WKC. There's, of course, Karate Combat, which we're going to talk about. But of course, coming up soon, as always, we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and we have, there we go. We have the Battle of the Dojos coming up. And we got all 8 teams set up. This isn't necessarily going to be the bracket, but this is going to be the lineup of all 8 teams. So it's going to be exciting to see what's going on. We got August 26th in New York, and the newest team that was added, let's see, here we go, was Bagwell's team. All right, so Mr. Bagwell from Connecticut added his team in there. So let me zoom in on my end. So we got Next Level, we got Pro Am Taekwondo, we got Team Leclerc, we got Team Kodo, we got Powell Martial Arts, we got Elite Martial Arts in Brooklyn, we got Ben's Victory Martial Arts, and we got Shoreline Karate Circuit Bagwell Academy. All right, so going to be a big, just a big deal and a fun thing for those dojos to be a part of. What do you think, Alex?
I do think it's going to be really fun. And this is a little bit of what we were chatting about before when it came to the Battle of the Dojos. Like this is really kind of an old school format. Like This is kind of what we did. And really, if you look at the schools that are involved, they're dang good schools, right? So it's saying Battle of the Dojos. This really does kind of mean something. And so I love the way Jesse promotes it because he promotes it not just for, let's say, when if you and Mason Stowell were to compete in, see who's got the best, traditional forms in the country. Is it one of the best Japanese stylists in Mason Stowell? Is it one of the best Korean stylists in Jeff Doss? This is not just that. They're bringing their whole schools along with it. I mean, I tell you, if I was involved in either one of those martial arts schools, I mean, I would almost have like a whole sit-in. I'd be like, all right, guys, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have this, Jesse. We're gonna have 50 people here. So we're going to buy 50, whatever pay-per-views here. And then maybe we could even do like a big promotion thing of it. Like, hey, let's do like a pre-live stream party of everyone here. You got to really get behind it. Once you do something that's big for your school, you have to like get behind it and make it a really big deal. And really think about like, how can I use this to not just further business, but to create more excitement within my school.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, like if you're just thinking, oh, my karate classes are great, this is enough. Until when? Until the one day they're not. And the one day they're not, then they start to look around and go, is this it? Is this it? I'm out. And it can't be it. You got to always have something a little bit more for them. So I love the Battle of the Dojo thing. That's what
I love it. I love it. It's going to be great. So more info is coming soon. So August 26th will be the next Virtual Fight Tour. So, man, it's been a big week. in martial arts, a big weekend. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Karate Combat. Sport Karate had a great weekend, right? So we have the first pro fight actually of Elijah Everell, and going pro in Karate Combat, and signed that what he said, an exclusive contract,
That's
and going out there and winning in under 45 seconds.
I mean,
Just dominance, man.
I want to know the details of this exclusive contract. So if it's an exclusive contract, like, does it mean that is it like a 5-fight deal? Is it like a 4 or 3-year deal?
I don't know, man.
Like, I want to know, like, what does this mean, guys?
Right.
So, oh, and by the way, Raymond Daniels fought on the same card.
Well, yeah, we were going one at a time, but yeah.
Think about that, like, Raymond Daniels, he's still, spin kicking the heck out of people. Here we are. We're talking about Elijah. But I mean, Elijah did win, and like you said, in under like 40 some seconds.
Right. Well, he was the first one. Raymond was the co-main
This
event.
is true. Okay, so I'm jumping around too much. I'm sorry. So I mean, if anybody had paid
always a Raymond love fest. If Jason would have been on there, my God, we would have.
You know me.
Lord, I know.
Jason Borelli would have been on there. You kidding me? I might be wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. That's a good question there, Brett. Does that mean no point events? I don't know.
That's what I was saying. That's what I want to know.
Right.
Like, but who knows?
But he's involved in a lot of, he's done full contact kickboxing, boxing, low kick, he's done a little bit of everything. So like maybe that's what it means on that part as far as full contact goes. I'm not sure, who knows?
We shall see. I hope it doesn't mean that he can't do much with
point
kickboxing.
Right.
But we'll see. If anybody had paid attention to Elijah's boxing skills, I mean, you kind of already knew like it was going to be something. So we look at Elijah, he's the best fighter in the world, right?
Hey, Lee. Hey,
and
Brett.
We look at Elijah and say, I mean, I don't know that there's anybody faster than him,
Right.
And there's a lot of fast people fighting today. And I don't know that there's anybody faster than him. And maybe he's the fastest, all around fighter, maybe, but if there's a knock on him in the point karate world, it would be that he can't kick with the elite kickers, like go kick for kick. But he also doesn't attempt to. But then what's he knock the guy out with?
Yeah, a round kick, beautiful round kick.
Just lets you know how skilled our sport is to where you can look at it and say, if there's a knock on Elijah, and I'm saying if, I'm putting quotes around this if, all right, it would be like, oh, you can't kick with the top kickers. But then right away, it just lets you know how skilled that this sport is, right?
Exactly.
And Mike's right. He doesn't need to, though. He doesn't need to. Right? He absolutely doesn't. And I'm not trying to knock the guy at all right? I'm just trying to build up the sport to say, hey, if you think that there's a knock, go ahead and look at that. Speaking of knock, he knocks him out.
Boom, beautiful.
The spacing was so good. After the kick, boom, the hand was right there just in case he did knock him out. And then when he brought the leg up, he was ready to stomp on him and then just realized he couldn't do that. He would have been DQ'd.
Right.
And then he readjusts. Look at that.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was total control. Like you said, spacing, but also, you're like, oh, calm down. And you watch the videos, you hear Ross say, take your time. Because he's right there. And then he was in control the whole time. Boom, boom, just beautiful. So it was great. That's one thing that they definitely have been pushing. If you hear some of the interviews that Boss Rudin had this week on the Joe Rogan show, that Ross is in total control at all times. He is so focused. And I think that is what really impressed a lot of them about Elijah, was like it looked like the combo of Raymond and Ross. You know what I mean? If you really look at it in those two. So it was kind of cool just because he has that background of both, of that traditional kind of boxing and kickboxing realm, as well as just like his style, of the point fighting style, that blitz is just beautiful. So it's going to be exciting to see what the future holds for him. I think, they're excited. They know they got something big. So
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's going to be great, just provided there's like no major injuries or life
right.
setbacks.
Right, or even just sometimes traveling and stuff, traveling issues that can happen too. So
Sure.
um,
Yeah.
all right, let's go into our other boy, Raymond. Raymond, and you know what? Travis, I've finally got through all of CTE. Travis said he thought this is the best he's seen him in 4 years, and I gotta agree, because this looked like Raymond of old, like hitting with just ridiculous things, hitting with power, hitting with control, but not getting overwhelmed. Not looking like he's just trying to do like a highlight reel, right? He's got plenty. So focus on the wins. His
Well, look
skills
at what you said,
are
though.
great.
You said, you know, I think this is a perspective thing, because when you say like it looked like Raymond was, Raymond of old and not trying to make it a highlight reel, yeah, he was still out there spinning like a top
Right, right. But
because he just can't, right?
correct,
He's
correct.
Raymond freaking Daniels, right? Could you
But the
imagine a fight?
accuracy this time on it was better. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I
saying?
think there was the one where he went, and I think the guy just lucked out that he ducked, right?
Right,
I
right.
think if that guy didn't duck, I mean, that spin
Yeah,
kick came so fast.
yeah.
I think his head would have been decapitated. I mean, he came so fast, right? That
Right.
that guy, when he did duck, I think he ducked on accident, honestly,
Yeah.
right? He must have been thinking, "Oh my gosh, God just saved me right now," right?
Right.
So, but even then, and I think what I was okay, we're gonna get into that in a moment, and that's gonna be exciting. And maybe I'll wrap this up so we can get there. But I think what we've seen in the past is where we've seen Ray, he'd throw the spin and just jump right back up, spin again. All right, throw a skip side kick, spin again, and he didn't. So after that moment, all right, he picked his he picked his positions, and then threw his shots and made
Right.
short work of the guy.
Yeah. All right. So one of our questions is, of course, and we've talked this several times, who do we want to see, on this path, right? And I think one of the questions though I asked, and I've asked several people, is I've even asked Ross, I've asked Chris and you, and just kind of just talking. It's like, so what is the path to karate combat? You know what I mean? And because people can say, oh, well, build your social media. Oh, just get quality wins. Well, quality wins in what? There isn't anything like karate combat. So, yes, we can go and, well, they want to take fighters from Point Karate. They want to take fighters from this. All right. But the fighters from Point Karate that they have right now have also done kickboxing, have also done other things. Maybe they've done, do they want, are they looking at Point Karate, or are they actually looking at, should you try to go more of the continuous route, right? And focus on winning WKC worlds, WACO worlds, WKU worlds. Say, hey, I won all the ones I'm able to. This is, where I'm at. What is the path? Because here's the deal. There isn't an amateur league yet for karate combat,
Yet.
So, and I don't see another pit, just around anywhere right now, just to have, right? So what is the focus? Where is this going to go? Yes. Do I think NASCA or WACO or WKC can be a feeder toward those, or WKU, of course, the WKF and the NKF and all those can be feeders to Kyokushin, that
Kyokushin's
can
a very
all
good point.
be a great feeder for that. But I feel like there needs to be a step in between. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I
Because
do, and you're
we're getting
possibly
this and
right
we're
on.
throwing them right in the pros, and it's like, all right, you lose a little bit when you don't really even know what this sport is yet. It's still in the birth, of what this is. So they just changed the rules recently, right? They added knees in the last time that Ross fought that. So there's a lot of new things going. So I think it's kind of cool. to see where it goes from here. But I think there needs to be maybe a feeder league or something in the future.
Well, let's take a trip back into the DeLorean time machine. Let's go back into the 80s, right?
Oh, 80s. All right.
Yeah, let's go back into the 80s and even to the early 90s, right? Very early. And it was a culture that when you would excel in point karate, eventually your next step was that you would do full contact, right?
Right. And there was a direct line right to it. So, yep.
Yeah.
Joe
And there
Corley,
was the
the Battle
PKA.
Atlantis, the PKA, you had John Worley involved. You got everybody, really, in a lot of ways, most of the promoters were also working with the PKA in some way, right? Well, they had a background.
ESPN was involved as well.
Exactly.
So there was that. I mean, point karate tournaments, NASCA tournaments, they literally were the feeder system. And because there was above the waist kickboxing, it wasn't a lot different, right? I mean, there was a fair amount different and the rules were different, but like the culture was pretty much do this at full contact, take your shirt off, go out there and fight somebody.
Right. Well,
that's what
Alex, even like point karate back then had a continuous type flavor to it because you wanted to continue. Like you didn't stop until it was really a clean point. So you saw, roundhouse kicks, jab cross, roundhouse kick, spin hook kick, stop, point for this one, whatever. So
yeah, exactly.
It flowed right into it really well.
Well, and really to give credit to that, if you think back to 2004.
Yes.
Wow. It's almost 20 years ago.
Are we talking about
when the super fight move got started, it was to try to bring back some of that fighting. Right.
And then what did we get pretty soon after that, though? We got WCL.
That's true. And it wasn't, you're right. It was just a couple of years later we got that.
Right. We got WCL, I think 2006, 2007.
I think Karate Combat's the best pro thing we've seen since. We had that culture of going, point karate, full contact kickboxing, because there really isn't anybody else that does above the waist kickboxing except for martial arts schools, and really like martial arts schools like what we do. So, but in Karate Combat, a lot of different martial arts styles can do Karate Combat.
Yeah,
and I love this. I love what Karate Combat has. I love watching it. It is exciting. Is it Robin Black who's kind of like the voice and face of it? Is that who that is?
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, he
the one who gets super animated on there. The one who's gonna die black.
He is. Yeah.
I mean,
I think Boss Rutan's kind of.
Oh no, Boss Rutan's his own personality, which is amazing.
Right.
But the whole Robin Black thing, it's so fun and funny, right?
It is. It's like, all right, chill out, bro. But I love the guy. He's a great guy.
Absolutely.
It's great talking to him as well as when we've talked to him before. So it's pretty cool.
And Boss Rutan, I mean, talk about badass, right? He's bad, and people just forget. They just think like, oh, he's just this really skilled martial arts guy who's in charge of Karate Combat. YouTube him, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
He was a badass fighter too. But the way
he used to do though, right? Back in the day.
Say what?
You know what he used to do, compete in back in the day, though, right?
Before he did MMA?
Yeah.
What?
He was a big forms guy.
Let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah, he says all the time, forms is one of my favorites because I got animated and everything, and that's kind of what helped me carry that over into when I went to Japan, and I did the jump split kick, and I did all this like I would normally do in my forms in Europe. They loved it and ate it up and became a big star when he went to Pancrase. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Okay. But when you hear Boss Rutan talk about the guys, like there's really he doesn't talk about it like, well, when I did this, what I would do. He doesn't do any of that. right?
Right.
He's just all about you. Do you see how amazing this fighter is?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see how
It's really
amazing
cool.
that fighter is? And he just gives them all the credit. I just think it's a brilliant,
It is. And
avenue
then they bring in people like George St. Pierre, Lyoto Machida, Wonder Boy, all guys that, that appreciate it and love it. So I think they're doing a great job. Let's go right into one of the people that you would like to see get there soon and probably is on the path there.
Oh, I hope so.
And that is your competitor of the week.
Yeah.
And yes, we're ready for
So
that
my
now.
competitor of the week is Romani Alisea. So, and when he first started competing as an adult in point karate, right, we quickly realized like, oh man, you are an adult now. You are ready, right?
Right.
You are a physical, specimen here. What does he call it? The Hispanic bringing panic. Is that what he calls his name?
Yeah.
But look at him here. And then after that, he quickly went right in. Now he does Muay Thai.
Yep.
And he really is Muay, and the transition from point karate to Muay Thai, that is a really hard transition.
It is.
Right?
It is. And it's not just like K1.
Mm-mm.
It's Muay Thai. So even
watch this. If you're watching this clip here, look at what he's doing. Like, so he's the guy in the red gloves, all right? And he is just picking this guy apart. This guy in the blue wants to smash him so bad. And Romani just sits in one spot. 2 seconds later, he moves, and he's not running. It's just 2 seconds later, he moves, and then boom, he just starts sticking him left and right. And Romani is really fast. He's very athletic. And as I am even watching this clip, he's not even using close to all of his athleticism.
No.
Right?
He's staying in control.
People forget how amazing this kid was when he was
really, so good at forms.
At forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
All around great martial artist. G-Force straight up competitor. Student there with Joe, and just amazing overall, just martial artist. So he also trains with Ross. He works out with those guys every now and then at the school. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah, Jackson said he competed against him for a Warrior Cup final. So yeah, he was awesome.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah,
how cool is that?
So yeah, so I think Romani may be kind of the next one, because he has the background. He can, but maybe he wants to go in more into the Muay Thai thing and maybe go into One, right? Because One FC has that's another. It's crazy right now because to me, like, Karate Combat's growing, but I see One also like doing something really cool for martial arts because they have it all, right? And Karate Combat until this weekend was the place where we saw like martial arts respect, martial arts integrity, all focus on that. This weekend there was a big scuffle and a brawl and stuff that happened and people throwing stuff into the crowd. That's not a normal thing in Karate Combat, but I think that was something which again, it happens in sports. They're fighting, but
it happens at karate tournaments often.
Yeah. So I think Romani, both of those prospects could come for him. So I don't know. It's really cool to see where that's going. My parents are like, they asked me, they're like, "Did you watch the fight?" I was like, I was busy doing something else, so I watched just Raymond's, and then I watched Elijah, and I was like, "How about you guys?" "Oh, we watched the whole thing." I'm like, "What?" And so they sit and watch all the Karate Combat. They sit and watch all of One FC, and they're like, "Both of these I like." They'll watch maybe here or there with UFC, maybe one depending on who it is. But my dad's favorite fighter was Uriah Faber. So like he's all psyched that Uriah is coaching Sage now. He's like, "Yes, this is the best. This is what he needs." It's so funny. So yeah. So again, if you have people, again, yes, they grow in martial arts and everything and watching me, but it's still like, they could be watching anything on Netflix or whatever. They're going to sit and watch the whole thing, not just Raymond and Elijah, who they know comes from our world. You know what I mean? They watched all of it. So they're putting on a good product.
And I don't want to go too long on this. I want to go on to the next topic. But as we start thinking about, talked about the competitor of the week, Romani Elisea. We talked about, other guys that would be great for it. Now if we went back in that DeLorean and we went back in time. Who's a guy or two who you could think like, man, if Karate Combat was happening when they were just starting to hit their peak, when they were on the ascension, it would have been great for them.
All right.
Who,
So
who do you think?
There's a lot. For me,
Yeah.
one is an easy one. It's Jason Tinkson because
Bingo.
of the athleticism and the way that he was able to go from style to style. I've seen him compete in traditional karate tournaments. That style, again, we're going to get into, like what happened on this time of the year. And for me, being involved in the NBL, Kumite Classic had a lot of great things that happened, right? So I think Jason, I think Trevor Nash, yep, exactly, Jackson. Those are the two that I think of, but also one that I think gets lost in the shuffle a little bit because he did a lot of full contact. Was Rene Perot, especially when he was younger. He did a lot of kickboxing. He did a lot of working on, that's what he runs now. He runs the kickboxing and boxing gym, there. So I think Rene would have been a good one as well.
I think all of them would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we go back a little further in time, I think if we look at
oh God.
Maybe like Donald Brady.
Yeah. I was thinking of the Bradys, and then I was even honestly, I think anyone from Boston Taekwondo would have worked well in this. Imagine Pedro axe kicking someone in that. Oh my God! I know it's like, and the thing is, his shape, his mentality, everything. He would have been fine in that. I think there's so. It would have been really cool to see those '90s guys because none of the '90s guys went into the kickboxing like the late 70s and early 80s guys did, right? So it was kind of weird. There wasn't that. PKA was kind of going out as they were going up. So really interesting to see what happens. Yeah, some of the guys who did NBL continuous actually did very well in like Brian Schwartz went on to be a champion in Strikeforce when it first started. He would have been great at it. Juancho Rodriguez would have been great at it. I even think that Keith Weston would have been great at it. He was great at continuous fighting and traditional kumite. So I think those guys would have really done well.
So a couple others though I think would have been fantastic. I just think of my homies Hamid Feruzzi. I think the WCL, the World Combat League, that was not a good fit for him. Right? Okay. He only did one round against Jack Felton.
But he did well.
He did do well, but it was like,
I mean,
why don't you do this again? And it just didn't really land. Now, if they had back in 2006 or 7, if they had, that then I think it would have been great. I think Greg Betlock would have been fantastic because he also did a few full contact fights too.
Yeah.
But you know who I think would have been really good? Coach Conroy.
Yeah,
Mike Conroy would have been really good.
Yeah. Definitely. You know who I would have loved to see do it because a lot of those guys came from the WUCO and or did that style like a John Payton back in the day. He had that drawback, John
That's
Payton.
A really good point.
I'm trying to think of there's some Ray Wizard. That's who it was. Yeah, Ray Wizard. A lot of just so many. It's just a whole different world if you look at those guys from back then. So would have been really cool. Ben Stewart, I think, would have been great at that as well. So it's exciting to think about, but I'm excited to see where it goes. And I hope that we find more gateways for our fighters to get there and maybe show, the steps to get there. So it's pretty cool. I know I have some of my guys, even my son is like, excited about it and like, well, how can we do this? How do we get ready for this? So like, what's the steps to get there? So it's pretty cool. All right. Do you want me to go to my computer or you want to go into, want to do that? All right, so we're going to get out of the karate combat kind of thing and talk about right into our sport karate. And so my competitor of the week is Amanda Duarte. So haven't seen her father on here yet, but he follows the show as well. And she is a very young competitor, brand new to Teen Revolution. She is from the New York area, I believe, or maybe New Jersey, but that area up there. And so she's amazing competitor. All right. Originally, I think from a Taekwondo and a Tang Soo Do background, doing Korean style. She did the transition like what we have said it had to happen.
Yeah.
And then she just adapted to it so well. So showing that those Korean martial artists know how to become great martial artists overall, right? And now it's just hitting for her, and she's won 3 overall grand championships so far this year. And so really, and it kind of came out of nowhere, right? Like she was solid last year, and then now it's like, boom, I'm out and ready to go. So it's cool to just see someone do that and make that transition. And what's cool as well is I think, she's also wants to do maybe the Korean challenge when that becomes a thing as well. So seeing someone being able to do both very well is exciting. And yeah, she's having a killer season so far, several grands. And I think it's just going to be, going to be cool to just see how she develops and grows over time. So,
it's interesting. Years and years ago, it was considered rare if somebody was really good at forms and really good at weapons.
Yeah.
And then, it still is rare that somebody is a champion at forms or weapons and then a champion fighter. That's still rare. I don't care what anyone says.
Right.
But to blend styles, to be like a champion Taekwondo competitor and a champion, Japanese kata competitor,
right?
That's not easy to do. I would have a very hard mental challenge with that, to be able to really. It's not even the physical part of it. This is once you enter into it, and obviously you would know more about this, Jeff, just because when you enter in,
I've had to do it. Yeah.
if your head's not totally in it, and they call your name, you get stressed out, and then you're there, and you're like, you have to be on all the time. You have to compartmentalize. It's just a snap of a finger. It's so hard to be on mentally, not just physically. We train our bodies physically all the time, but to be on mentally all the time, switching back and forth like that, get out of here. It's like you say shortcut or something.
It is. And it's, in NBL, we saw it a lot,
Well, that's why I say Sage Northcutt.
Yeah, Sage. I did a lot. A guy named Jesse Jones did a great job at it. There's so many that did very well at it, at going back and forth, winning Korean and Japanese titles. But the other thing was going from circuit to circuit, and that would be something that like Becca.
That's a very good point.
Becca Liker would always ask, like, how are you doing this? Because 1 week you're doing NBL, 1 week you're doing NASCA, 1 week you're doing this other local, which is different and different rules. Like, I'd be confused, on each thing. And then now a lot of those guys, are doing that as well with the NKF, the AAU. We're seeing more competitors doing AAU tournaments right now, especially in traditional karate, with Joey Castro being involved in that in New Jersey and Bill Viola being involved in Pennsylvania. And so they're really kind of pushing that. Amanda actually just was at an AAU tournament. I think it was Joey's tournament this past weekend. So lots of things, that it's cool just to see our competitors be able to grow and go back and forth. So, and I think that's what, the Korean Challenge is going to provide, because it's not just okay, go do your form and then we'll just judge it differently than what we should. No, like, you're going to have to do a challenge. That's why I think traditional challenge is not a challenge. It should be a challenge. So make it a challenge, right? So 3 rounds, you got to do at least 2 different forms, going head to head. It's going to be exciting. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. 3
I
weeks.
can't wait to. I'm not going to comment more on it tonight. I can't wait
No,
to
no, no,
comment
no.
more on it later.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. All right. Let's go with. Yeah, this is fun. All right. So Memorial Day martial arts moments, right? And kind of what you were telling me is like sport karate history or moments in this time, right?
Yep.
For me, when I
Time
think
is
of
sport
Memorial
karate.
Day weekend, I think of Kumite Classic, right? That's
Yeah.
just what I think, For the guys that live in Texas over the past 10, 20 years, they think of Jam All Nationals, which is a big NBL tournament out there that J-Dog and Dane have. This weekend, Dane has his tournament now, Karate Blast. Or Summer Blast. So that's going to be, Texas Blast. There we go. But that's what's happening this weekend for him. So yeah, I mean, what do you think as far as like this time, of going on? What do you think about?
Well, I think of a little bit of the same. Now, here's what I'll say: nobody in Minnesota would ever dare throw a tournament on this weekend, right? It just would never happen, right?
Right.
Nobody would show up. I don't care who you are, right? Because it's Memorial Day weekend. This is typically when weather starts to be like, you know what? It's really nice. Now we're starting to get close to summer. People are starting to wear shorts. Let's get out. And the moment you get that in Minnesota, they are gone, right?
Right.
They're gone. However, speaking of, this is another thing that I think of, all right? Memorial Day weekend, I have a little bit of a different thing. It's not martial arts related. So
yes, Tornadoes was, and that's another big one too. Yes,
Yeah.
Tornadoes was as well.
when I decided I was going to propose to Lindsay, right? My dad had not met her yet. And I'm like, you know what? Dad, this could be an issue. You guys are probably going to have to meet each other. Why don't we set this thing up? And he said, my dad's birthday is always like near Memorial Day. I was like, hey, it's a great excuse. He knows, she doesn't know, right? So I said, let's just, Memorial Day weekend, we'll call it a whole thing, birthday. There's a whole excuse for this thing.
Right.
Okay, cool. So he comes. Now it is chilly. And when anybody comes from out of town, you got to go do all the Chicago things, right? So you go do all that stuff, and it is like really chilly.
Yeah.
Promise this is the truth. Look it up if you think I'm lying. On Memorial Day that year in Minnesota, there was a blizzard.
Wow.
A blizzard, not like it started snowing.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I really think about here. Jeremy Talbot hosts a local tournament here, and he calls it Battle for the Troops.
Yes, you've talked about that.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. I don't know what he kicks back as far as proceeds, but he to wounded veterans. But that was essentially around what he called it. I mean, he's going to throw a karate tournament,
right?
Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day.
Right.
We're here honoring our fallen warriors. So he didn't even like mince it. He's like, no, if we're going to host it on Memorial Day weekend, let's make it about Memorial Day. Right. So that was really cool. And one of the things that the competitors got when they picked up their registration, it was kind of cheesy, but it was cool. I liked it. Right. Yeah. They got dog tags that said Battle of the Troops or Battle for the Troops. Cool. Right. Yeah. I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's
we have cool. Tournaments. Yeah. We have a couple of tournaments still here in North Carolina, Virginia that do that still.
And it was nice. And one of the things I liked about it is the excuse behind everybody gets a trophy is that when you have a trophy, you post it up, you hang it up. Right. I went to that tournament, and you look at it. I'm looking at a trophy right now. I'm looking at right, and I will always remember that tournament as I'm looking at that. But when you hand them this thing, just when they enter, now everybody doesn't need a trophy.
No.
They don't all need one. Here you go. You got this. So now I don't have to spend $30,000 on trophies. Right?
You got what we talked about last week, a keepsake, right?
Bingo. Bringing that stuff around full circle.
Oh, full circle, baby. We're getting good at this.
But I do love the Kumite. The Kumite Classic was both amazing and horrible all at the same time. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of different Kumite Classic experiences because I didn't go to a lot of them, although I went to some of them.
Yeah.
What I do know is that It is not going to be done early. All right. It is going
That's
to take a
true.
while. All
That
right.
is true. Unfortunately, yeah, it was a long time. Most of the time, most of
But
the
there's
time.
other tournaments that do that. Okay. So
Yeah,
it's gonna take a while. And there's
yeah,
not really a justification as to why, but it just is. All right. But there is also gonna be like some elite level competition there. All right.
right.
So you'll never really have to worry about like, oh man, is anybody gonna be there? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, they're going to be there.
everyone's
Right.
going to be there. Yeah, a lot
Um,
of top competitors and some that will surprise you at that event. So it was really cool.
right.
What
So
what's a moment you were thinking, or a fight or something?
okay. This one was funny, right? So I think it was 2016. So this is when they did the giving out $10,000 for the
Right,
team
right,
fighting, right? So it was like there was a few other teams and a few other fighters who were like, "Well, I'm gonna go. There's gonna be a lot of teams there. I'm gonna go." And it was for the fighting there. It was good fighting. Okay,
yeah,
so at one point, there's two things I'm gonna bring up. At one point, Jason Borelli he doesn't talk a lot when he fights. Right? He doesn't really talk, but
right.
when he does say something, he puts an exclamation point on it. Right? So and Team TAC literally just takes an Academy Chicago,
Yeah,
goes through all these teams, and ends up fighting the All Stars in the final, right? Well, that's their good thing team. So at one point, I think they're fighting next level, and I can't remember who Jason was fighting. Jason was fighting somebody, and like he sidekicked him in the ribs, and just like Jason Borelli way, right? And time was up. Jason, Jason does like a bow where he goes like this and like
yeah.
comes like that and then yells out, "Good day, sir! Good day!" I like erupted laughing. It was so funny, right? There was
Oh
a
yes,
lot
that's
of
Jason.
amazing moments. The other one that I'll bring up, oh man, this was the funniest thing ever. So Alonzo Payne is a rookie at this point,
Mhm,
right? He
mhm.
is a rookie. But he realizes, like, hey, maybe I might be good at this thing. So he just starts to go to all the tournaments, right? Like everything. As much wherever he can get to, he doesn't have two pennies to rub together, but he'll figure it out. That's the
Right,
way people should do this, right? Just go
right.
there, figure it out. You never know. This could be life changing. Okay. So he goes there and they're doing it, they're fighting for a division, and it's he and Chris Walker and you got to win by 2. And
Okay.
Chris is like dead dog tired. This match felt like it went for 10 minutes long, right? And Chris is like dead. And Alonzo is like, he's like 18. So he's got all the energy. And Alonzo he would be making mistakes left and right, but he's got tons of energy. So he's bailing himself out of these mistakes because he'd go and Chris would just like see Alonzo kind of skip his feet up. So he'd step in, pow, because it doesn't take a lot of energy to do that. And then
Right.
Alonzo would get smacked. He'd come back and then didn't even care. Just pick his foot right back up, pow, pow, pow. And then he'd go back at him and score. And Chris was so annoyed by this. He's like, can you at least just not make mistakes or just let me hit you and beat you? But it just went on forever. And anybody who was there who remembers it just remembers just watching it and laughing like the whole time to the point where all the all stars were cracking up at Chris and this whole situation. Right?
Wow.
It was hilarious. And Chris, he'd been fighting all weekend, right?
Right,
So
right.
here you go. And it was amazing. It was a really funny moment.
That's hilarious. Oh man, there's so many moments. Just it's crazy, like being able to meet people like Kurt Angle, and even first time I met. Well, I saw him before. But his name is Claudio Castagnoli, who he was in WWE and he was a big star there. But before I met him there, seeing Ice-T walk around in the first 2 years he was there, yeah, and giving everybody his energy drink. You know, so many moments that happened at that tournament. And then, like Brett said, before that, Tornado Internationals was an amazing event that the Lakers put on in Kansas City. And I
I do
remember
remember
us
this.
sitting in this huge hotel. And this hotel was cool because on the very top floor they had a restaurant, and it was one of those moving, rotating restaurants, right? On the very top floor.
You mentioned something about
Yeah, and so we had like our team meeting, like dinner there, and rotating all the way around the whole time. It was kind of cool. But there was also like what we thought was like a real tornado. Like we're sitting in the middle, like we're in Kansas City, and the lobby is all glass and just hovers over, and you're seeing the storm coming, and all of us like, dude, that's a tornado. We probably need to run. Oh no, that's a little one. It's not a big deal. It's just, just is what it is.
Ooh.
This definitely is, Tornado Internationals. And yeah, it was connected to a 3-story mall. It was so much fun to do. I mean, as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, it was tons to do. Great venue, great setup. One year, I just will never do this. I did like 8 divisions, and I got second place in every freaking division.
Oh, way.
I tied for first in 6 of them. It was just the worst weekend ever, right? And my last event was on stage for continuous fighting. I was fighting continuous against my friend Mauricio from Padilla from Louisiana. And I'm exhausted. We're just fighting, and we're laughing the whole time we're fighting. We're hitting each other. And there's one point where we both fall to our knee, and we look up, and we're just like punching. And then the judge's like, what are y'all doing? Just stop. And he like has to stop us. And we're both just punching on the ground on each other, just going at it, laughing at each other, right? But oh, that's cool, Brett. That was your first national win. There was just a lot of cool moments. I mean, I need to just write all of them down of all the different cool things that happened there. As far as with Kumite, for me, man, all right, let's just say this. I gotta say, doing karate and at a tournament, and then all of a sudden you look up and there's like a bikini contest.
You said it. You said it.
Especially before it was in the big venue, the big Expo Center. It was still Expo Center, but the stage was like right next to the karate venue. So you would
give
be
a little
judging.
context for those that don't understand why this would be the case.
So he put on a big full fitness expo, all right? It wasn't just a martial arts tournament Bill Viola did. It was everything. Fitness, health. There was booths all everywhere. There was like athletic fitness contest and jump rope competitions, everything going on.
Every fitness vendor you could think of was there.
Everybody.
Every single one.
I mean, there was high school wrestling tournaments going on at the same, all of this awesome stuff.
CrossFit competition.
Yes. And you're judging, and then you look up and they're like, hey, we need you pay attention because you're stuck because you see, a tall bikini model in high heels, it's like, all right, for me, again, I've shared this before. The year that Casey, Chelsea, and Trevor won every single event and grand. And what was funny was like, so I'm hanging out. It was me, Raymond, Robbie. I don't think Jack was there. Cody was there. Some of us were just there, just sitting we're trying to find some place to do something after because everything closed down early in Monroeville, right? Yep. And so
nowhere to go.
There, and all of us lost to them in some form or fashion, right? And they all walk in on the other side of the restaurant, and they're like, "Those are all the punks that took our money." It's like just hilarious, right?
I mean, they really did.
And they really did.
Everybody except for whoever did men's form.
Yeah, because I lost that one.
Who beat you in men's forms then?
Josh Bailey actually beat me, which was crazy. So, a great competitor. It was just a weird situation because I felt like I was all right on a roll. And then one thing that happened there, that was where, I've shared how I've had a pulled hamstring for a while now. That was the weekend that I pulled my hamstring for the first time. And it's kind of continued on. And this was 2010. I still deal with this hamstring injury since then, right? Yeah. And I love Bill, but the stage they had there was not really built for karate. It was built for people to do that fitness
Walk.
stuff and the other things and the walk and stuff. So
Right.
there were boards all over the place and stuff.
Did
And I
notice
went
that.
to do, I landed in the split. I went to do a kip up. And when I did, my heel hit the edge of that board and I just shot. And me trying to catch myself, I pulled my hamstring like really bad.
It would be a
all the
good
way up.
segment for us to do one time, Jeff. Would be just
Yeah.
comment on that exactly. What are the worst conditions
Yeah.
we've ever had
So-
to compete?
So
in?
that
'Cause
was
we've had
that
some.
was an interesting one. There was a lot of things that happened. A lot of people got hurt and fell. That one year, that the year before they did the team, they did the super fights thing for all the money and for like the 5K or whatever. And a lot of guys were getting hurt on the stage. So that was one of the unfortunate parts. Overall, Bill Viola put on a great show. One more funny one.
We also loved the tournament.
Oh yeah. One year I was on stage for every single grand championship, right?
Ooh, that's
And I won 2 out of the 3. On the last one, this is funny. The last one, this was really the last year that they had the models give the awards, right? And so the models that won gave the awards, okay? And
No,
so
wait. The models that won the figure or bikini
Yeah.
competition would
Came
stick
on.
around
yeah.
and hand Jeff Doss his
And then,
award.
yes, and then hang out with all of us and party with all of us and dance with
Stop.
people and stuff. This was where it was fun, okay? Later on, it didn't really happen like that anymore. They went home, okay? But before, it was like this. And I remember Rocky, who was the announcer, he comes and says, hey, they want to meet you. They really like your form. And they're all like, hey. And I just remember being like, yeah, all right. And then they present me my award. And me, I don't know what I was saying. I'm usually an introvert, but I just finished doing my form. I won. I grabbed both of them and put them in like this.
You did not.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
Like for a photo op?
For a photo op, just got.
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool.
So yeah. What did you think?
I wasn't quite sure what the
Yeah,
context was.
what
Why
I was
asking.
yeah. So for a photo op, yes. So anyway, so I win my award in that, but yeah, so that was just funny. But overall was a cool. There's so many moments from that. I won that year. I won the weapons and the forms grand, and I think it was 2011. And Randy Macho Man Savage just died that week of, right? So I went and added like the intro, like him going, oh yeah, and all that into all of my music. So every form that I had Macho Man like theme stuff in there just as a
That's
tribute.
pretty cool.
So yeah, so that was fun. Unfortunately, I don't
so
think
loud.
those are on YouTube anymore because those are all Blitzkick stuff. But hopefully, we'll be able to see some of those soon. But yeah, man. So Memorial Day weekend, always fun. We probably can get next week, since we're still kind of in that realm. We can probably share some more of these stories as
Oh, for
well.
sure.
There's so many big time moments. Again, Team IDC versus CJB set fight at Tornado Internationals. Amazing. Some of the continuous fights and set fights they had in the ring the night before. They used to do that at Tornadoes and have a ring in the other room and have kickboxing and stuff. And then they would bring all the top continuous fighters and have them fight some of their local kickboxers. That was cool. So yeah, there was a lot of cool things that happened just around that weekend. So,
Well,
all right. What do you think,
speaking of
man?
that weekend, what you got going on this weekend, Holmes?
So I'm gonna drive to the airport at about 2:30 in the morning. Drive down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm getting away for a couple of days, man. So my fiance and I are going to fly down to Fort Myers, go to the beach to down there in Florida, and just kind of get away for a couple of days because
Are you going to stay in Fort Myers? Or are you going to go over the bridge?
I don't know yet.
Oh man, you got to go over the bridge. You got to go to Sanibel and Captiva.
Yes,
Just
all
do that.
that's going to be
Just tell
happening.
Shirley,
All
just be
that's
like,
gonna
hey, Alex says something about going to Captiva. It would be like it's going to
We'll
be the
go.
coolest
We'll
experience.
go.
You go. Rent a car and go.
Listen, literally, this was planned like 2 weeks ago. So
For real?
I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Boom.
Yeah, I'm
Just
telling you.
kind of.
Just go
That's
there.
what you
Any of the insiders listening, and they're like, "What's that place he's talking about?" Just go. You're gonna find
All
yourself
right.
there. You're gonna go, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, he was right. This is totally island-like living. It's island living, man."
All right. I see. Sounds
That's
good.
cool.
I'm gonna do that. and then come back and then just hang out with Memorial Day stuff, and then be here for 2 days and then drive to Detroit for WKC. So
Nice.
next week we'll be talking about some of that.
Yeah, we will.
So how about you, man? Parties?
It's wedding season, man.
Yeah, wedding
Deep
season,
in it,
baby.
deep in it. I had a couple of great ones last weekend. I got a few great ones this weekend that we got going on. My other DJ Michael, man, that kid's killing it, man. Just
That's
so
awesome.
lucky to have him. Yeah,
That's great,
and
man.
then we're doing a good job. We added a bunch of other things to our rig and to our setup. It's it's funny. You know how like karate guys, it doesn't matter how expensive a uniform is, they'll justify spending like
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars on a uniform.
Yeah.
Right? They've already got 3 of them that
Yeah.
they bought for competition that they still never use, but they'll justify spending hundreds on this new. It's the same thing with DJ equipment. Only
Oh, yeah.
worse. It's way worse. Right?
Way more expensive.
Over here, just so I can plug my mic into this, I got a 10-channel mixer right in front of me. I use one. It's just so squeeze. I've got a 4-channel. I've got a 4-channel DJ controller. I use 2 channels on it, and it's just
I love it.
now I use 2 channels. I should use all 4, but we'll see. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway,
I love it.
all
right,
It's
guys.
gonna be a great time, man. If anything crazy happens, I'll be sure to send you some clips of it.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys so much.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. See you guys next week, and have a happy Memorial Day.